everybody. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host and disembodied hands, Quindy, and her servitors, Justin and John. And today our Kiki has been distracted with a pig ear. So, she's scrambling around playing with it in the background, but she did not come to say hello. But that's okay, because she was a total dingo yesterday, so I think we're okay. You're not going to say hello, are you? You going to say hello? Hello? Come up. No, she's too bitey. Too bitey. Yep. She's just been really mouthy lately, so. Really mouthy. Hey, Kreniko, thank you for the resub, 41 months. You guys were almost totally denied me today because when we woke up this morning, the power was out again. And it only came on about an hour before stream, so fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, right, little dog? Right? Right, little dog? Yeah? Silliest dog. All right, silliest dog. And she's just like crazy lately. Crazy dog. Definitely in a 6-month puppy rut of regression. Pardon me while I put away some of the greens I did yesterday. All right, guys. So, yes, it's once again we have finished 2 minis at the same time, more or less. So, really, this could be any any deity. So, who's her god? Who's her god, guys? Tell me. What kind of god does she follow? Tell me. Kreniko, it's not us. Most of the flooding is like more San Francisco. Like our drainage system seems to be, knock on wood, working quite well where we are in Mountain View. Yeah, she knows she's not supposed to bite, but when she gets excited, Twisted Oma, it's all out the window. I can tell because like when she's calmer, she's like, and I'm like, no. And she's like, So she knows. You gonna chew that here? Be crunchy and loud? All right. So you want lots of yellow and yellows. Yellows then, Saren Ray, huh? Yellow, gold, white. Maybe some pale blue, Kreniko? Oh no, Quindy. Well, hey. At least it didn't happen. I mean... Yeah, when David, on New Year's Eve, when David was driving into the city, 101, which was the highway he was driving in on, one entire lane was completely flooded. So going up onto the peninsula is a different dealio. But around here, we're doing all right. But yeah, I mean, it's not over. The whole week is supposed to be tons of storms, so... We'll see, but this time we were part of a much larger outage, and so it went off around apparently 2:30, and they worked all night to fix it because it was a 5,000 person outage instead of just a 49 person outage. So yeah, so I'm not complaining because, I mean, for me, I'm working on getting my novel ready to publish, and I like rainy days to work in. Like, a rainy day is a perfect day for me to sit and get, like, PDF painting stuff done and writing stuff done. Like, I love it. I'll just sit with the sound of the rain all day. Yeah, we're fine. We're fine, Twisted Oma. Like, I mean, it's like... I'm not somebody to, like, worry about it till it happens, and when it does happen, I'm very pragmatic about it. I don't... Like, I've had this happen I've had stuff happen to me before, and I've learned that in a crisis, I'm actually really even-keeled. I just pretty much, like, pack up, move on, and figure out how to deal with it, so... well, yes and no, you know, they're still yelling at us in our, that we're still in a drought! It would take a lot of rain to refill all of the water. But it's certainly nice not to have to water our fruit trees, and this is helping to refill our reservoirs, so I'm, like, okay with it. Well, we haven't done yellow since we did Lisette, and that was a cold yellow, so we can do yellow. Yeah, it is kind of, Kreniko. It is a bit of that. I mean, we don't have a lot of, I don't know, my yard in Texas was like a lake after this kind of stuff hit it. And I don't know, our yard is absorbing it just fine. Um, but I'm sure at the beginning of it, it was kind of like that. I don't know though. I'm not certain. It's not quite the same. We don't have the clay soil here that Texas does that makes it like so hard to the water just skids right off of it. I don't remember what the Skyrim people looked like. But yeah, we're getting a ton of snow in the mountains, which is, again, good for reservoirs too, because once that starts to melt, then it'll refill. It'll run down and refill some of the reservoirs around the Yosemite area, stuff like that. So, I don't know. As long as I have power, and even if I don't have power, as long as I've got like the means to deal with it, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. David was like, "Arr!" And I'm like, because now he's scared. That's the thing. Before, David was like, "Oh, they'll get fixed right away," and then they didn't for 2.5 days, and now he's like, "Arr!" He's convinced that it's like he's like it's serious now. It's serious now. He doesn't want to lose his computer. You still have snow on the ground. You lost power for 4 days. We had 2.5, Bryce, because of the thunderstorms. And our neighborhood was smaller, one of the smaller dots, and so it didn't get tackled until later on. But now we lost it last night and it's on again already, so we will see. Are you okay now though, Bryce? Did you lose a lot of food? Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, the clay is nasty. Like our yard down below our yard, below that layer of topsoil in Texas, the yard I used to have, solid clay, like just solid. Yeah, so I haven't noticed a lot of pooling around like our immediate area. But I haven't gone driving like David has done more driving recently than I have. So, all right, well let's do yellow then. I'm going to go with Kuroniko's suggestion. Nobody else is yelling about it, so yellowing about it. Right. Yeah, as long as you've got. Oh, you borrowed your dad's generator. Nice. Yeah, I suppose because you live up high, people in your area actually have things like generators, huh, Bryce? Or is your dad an oddity? Because it seems to me if you do live in the mountains, you're probably more used to this kind of crap, at least for the snow. So I'm going to use my knife and just clear out a little bit of this here. Yeah, stay-at-home jobs are great as long as you're, if you can get around the power losses when they happen. All right, so there are tiny little rivets on this shield. I'm going to try to clean the mold line off without taking them out. If I do take them somewhat out, that's okay. Usually there's at least enough left to touch up. Since they're so tiny, you could even just paint them on with paint. Oh, this is definitely a job for the back of the knife. Papa, what's up? I need to kind of keep an eye on the Papa today because she's going to be bored. I don't want to give her another bully stick. She actually chowed all the way through a bully stick already this morning. And I really don't want to go through. Like, she's been hitting the bully stick super hard. Like, she's got all this energy to burn. We take her for her same 2 walks. Like, we haven't been skimping on walks even with the rain. But she is having a moment. Probably everything. What am I painting yellow? Everything, Agent Marvel. Everything. Her main color will be yellow. We'll figure it out. But Kuroniko was the one who made a suggestion, and she said Sarenrae. So I'm like, okay, so yellow and gold and white. And maybe a little bit of blue. A little bit of sky blue, maybe. And we haven't painted anything yellow for a long time, and the one we did was green yellow, so we'll do orange yellow this time. But yeah, I'll have to go and periodically check up on the Kiki because I don't want to give her another chew, and I want to make sure she's not like eviscerating a toy in the other room. All right, so real gentle, going to try to See how much of that mold line is left. I think the back of the knife, when you've got something on a rounded surface like this, you can kind of use a mold line remover, or you can use the back of the X-Acto to scrape it. And the back of the X-Acto is going to be a lot more gentle than the blade, but you can still use it to remove mold lines on rounded surfaces like the center of this. Yeah, David painted this model. It's the only model he's painted for Reaper directly. Yeah, or eating the couch, true. I doubt she would. She hasn't gotten into furniture eating. I'm really good, Bryce, because I've had so many dogs before. But I'm really good about making it very clear to the dog what is theirs and what isn't. So she is far more likely to rip up one of her new toys than she is to touch the couch, because the couch is not hers. What's up, Papa? What's up? Hi, what are you doing, huh? Did you eat your pig ear? You a good girl? What you got? Oh, you got a little, oh, you do have a pig ear. Good girl. Go eat that. Good girl. She left her pig ear in here with me, and she just came in to get it. Oh, hi. Oh, you know what I do need to do, actually? I need to go and open her door for her. That will get her to settle down. Pendrake, I can't afford to, like, spend more than an hour on walks a day for her. Like, she's just not going to get longer walks. There are other ways to tire her out. You're never gonna physically tire out a 6-month-old puppy that's as athletic as this. You have to, like, mentally tire them out. Oh, you know what, Pa? I'm going to close this door, too. Oh, you got your pig ear. There, it's still there. It's still there. Good girl. Good girl. But yeah, I mean, I think an hour of walk a day is pretty good. Power show. Thank you, Bryce. But yeah, with a 6-month-old puppy, seriously, can you run that puppy out? No, probably not. I mean, normally she will run into other dogs at, like, the school park that we walk through, and she'll get a little playtime. But even then, and she can't do that right now because there's all this water. Aw, that's good, Valandar. That's cute. Hi, Keeks. Hi, Keeks. You brought me your pig ear again, huh? So yeah. So back of the blade can be, essentially that's what GW's mold line removal tool is. It's a tool that's directly based on the back of the blade scraping method. Only it's ever so slightly curved, so it actually does a little better job. At least on styrene. This, the side cast material is a little bit softer than styrene. And good morning. Hold on. The other thing about Kiki and walks right now is because of all the rushing water and debris and everything, she actually gets overstimulated on walks. Like, she'll get actually more excited after a walk instead of, happy and tired. Okay. What we got? Okay, so this kind of mold line in the middle of the fold here, that's a mold line that we have, if we're going to address it, we have to address it with green stuff. You might be able to file it, but on a convex surface or concave surface like this, there's no way to get a good angle, so you might be able to do it with a file. Oh, does Andy have a new one? What is his like, Pendrake? I'm going to try a file on this, guys. I might be able to get it just a little bit. It's not like really, it's like, the problem is it's curved in this way and this way. So then you get a really difficult time. So I'm going to use a round file and see what I can do. I could also use my, actually the best thing for this would be the nail Dremel. And I could go try that. I just need to grab it from the other room. Yeah, I just said that, Cranston. I just don't keep that normally at this desk. It's normally at the other desk. Because it's not as good on regular Bones material or Bones Black. It's better on harder material. A little bit more here to take off. Hi, Keeks. Hi, Keeks. What's up? What are you doing? Hi, yeah, Mama's working. Can you go settle? All right, so let's see. Oh, yeah, wax carving. But it's less hot, so it's kind of melting, huh? He can melt the material just a little or soften it. Yeah, so I could try using the tip of this, but I can still feel that, so. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the new dragons. Sorry about that, Graniko. All right, let me go and get my Dremel tool. Hold on, guys. You're like, is this a toy? Is it a toy, Mama? No. Yeah, no, it's Mama's. It's Mama's. She's like, is it a toy? Can I eat it? Is it a toy? Can I eat it, Pa? No, She wants my paint bottles like bad. She is like, I'm like having to put a plastic thing over it. Leave it. Leave it now. Pardon while I figure out this, plug in my nail Dremel. This is a nail Dremel. It is pink. It is not a serious Dremel. Serious Dremel usually packs too much punch for this sort of thing. Pardon me while I put everything down. Yeah, so that means that for PVC, heating it up. Oh, thanks, guys, Clear. 41 months, dang, you like us. Pardon me while I sit here and contort myself. I'm gonna actually move my light so I can see that side of it. That'll make it a lot easier, Pa. There it is. And now we can move this back. And now I can put on my mask. That's the thing about using the Dremel tool. Must wear a mask. Oh, come on. Hi, Kiki. Hi. What am I doing? Oh, no, Mama. You got a thing on your face. I need to eat it. I need to eat it, Mama. What is it, Mama? Oh, no, Mama. Mama's been attacked by a face eater. Mama's been attacked by a face eater. No, off. Nope. All right. Yep. There's Kiki for you guys. All right. Wait, where did I put? Oh yeah, glasses. That's what everybody says when she comes on camera. She is so helpful, isn't she? All right. So a little bit, and I've got the diamond bit here. No, come on. It's not good for your snout. Go. Keep away. And then I usually use a stiff brush, like a Taklon, to kind of scrub off any extra little bits I've got going on. Interesting calendar. But yeah, Keekster's getting huge. I think she's about 55 pounds. So essentially I'm buffing out this mold line. It's leaving a little bit of residue behind it, but it's less than it was. I'm using a very light touch with this. I'm going to check and see if I have anything else before I take this off. I could also just take these little guys off. Looking. Pretty good. Get the edge of this again. Could use this to get some finer points in here. And it can get into this little groove here that makes it very difficult. Oh, the rain just started again. Let's hope we don't lose power. This is not a perfect tool, but it does help with some of those recessed areas. I think that's good. My mask back over there. And I just want to make sure that I've got all the little metal, all the bits off. Some people around here are like that. I know, Tristoma, you probably are a higher risk. I haven't been wearing a mask for the most part, but I know there are a lot of people in our neighborhood who are really dependent on it. And the funny thing is, like, kids are like, have really embraced it, like smaller kids, which is interesting to me. Alright, so we got a little bit of burring, we got a little bit of plastic debris from that, and that can happen. Yep, you can hear it, huh? You can hear the rain. Yeah, that's because the directional mic is unidirectional right now, but it's obviously the rain is coming from everywhere on the roof, so yes, apologies. That's it. This is what you get. You get me streaming, but you get me streaming with very loud rain. Wow, this shield is just like having issues here. So what I might do, since I've got all these little bits of debris, plasticky debris, I'm going to use my blade and try to take off as much as I can. But I might lay down a layer of sealer to kind of even this area out. definitely suffering. The top of the shield here is definitely suffering a bit. I have little burrs of plastic that are coming up. That's funny, Crows. Yeah, I except for like of course disrupting the stream and obviously video if I tried to shoot during it, but I really like the rain and how I can hear it in this house. It reminds me of Reaper being in the paint department because there was we had a you know, a corrugated steel roof. So it was like super loud whenever it started to rain in the paint department. Yeah, I'm just getting this is a really hard area to smooth out with anything. So I'm just gonna grab my gloss sealer. Pewter lighthouse, yeah, right. I'm gonna grab my gloss sealer and I'm honestly gonna put a glob in there. We're gonna paint the shield right away anyway. So I'm gonna spread that out. Give me a second to put my lid back on. So gloss sealer can be a good even or outer, as many of you already know. Even or outer is a real word, I promise. It can be, some gloss sealers can be really slick. Hi, Richard. Yeah, we've just been doing some mold line removal. There were some difficult ones, so I was showing some ways to do it. In the midst of that, I started tackling the upper part of the shield and really made it a bit rough with all the pilling of the plastic. So I am using some gloss sealer to try to even out the surface a little bit. It's not rough enough to be battle damage. I don't do that. Like in general, I am not the whole, oh, I'll just paint it as battle damage person. Like, no. If you want to, do it, but for me, I'm just like, meh. I'd rather just fix it. If I want battle damage, I'll take the knife to it and I'll make it battle damage. There, we got that in there. So that'll help smooth out that interior area, just giving it a nice thick coat. It can sometimes be a little hard to paint over some gloss sealers. The Reaper gloss sealer isn't bad, but in this case, since it's in a recessed area, it's not giving me a lot of risk of rub off because I'm never going to be touching it there. Like my finger won't normally touch that recessed area at all. So, all right, now. Yep, the only person who had a suggestion for what kind of cleric she was Kuriko, so I went with her suggestion. So it's going to be Sarenrae, and it's going to be yellow. Yellow. Let's see here. And, of course, all my yellows are going to be in the other room, aren't they? No. Some of them are in the other room for photography purposes, for an article. But, let's see. I don't really want to go there. I was looking at my different oranges right now to see which one I want to use. Or if I want to use a brown, like Sandy Brown. But I think Sandy Brown is canceled, isn't it? Could use like Numeria Rust. I usually don't want to use a very bright orange for yellow shading. We could do the pink thing, but I'm not a fan of it. But well, when you're starting, Agent Marvel, when you start a model with yellow, you really only have a couple of choices. If you almost always want to start your model dark and go lighter. So really, your only choice here is which base you're going to use. I'm going to still mix a shadow from one of these, but essentially I'll choose either the Oxide Yellow or something very close to it, or I'll choose the Lantern Yellow, the Orange Face Yellow, or something very close to it. So when you're doing yellow, always choose one of these two or something similar. The reason is they've got highest coverage, and also it's much easier to build up your yellows to a brighter yellow than it is to start with something and then like shade it while still keeping your vibrancy. I find it's much easier to do it this way. Many people underpaint with a pink. Yeah, so the first key, Richard, is just to start with something, a yellow that's got higher coverage. And we could underpaint with white. So her main dress is going to be yellow, I think, or her cloak for sure. Let's see. Let's map it out. So what she's got is armor, all armor here. She's got a cloth belt, cloth sleeves. She's got the yellow on her cape, and then she's got a bunch of layers down here. Now, we're probably going to end up making this part white and this part more yellow, because that lets us put yellow, 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 yellow. So that means the cape and cloak is yellow. This is white. That's yellow. We've almost got to go with a darker bronze with the armor. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the primer is weird. It's not, I mean, it does have integral white pigment. It's thicker, so you're going to notice it will probably give you that illusion of being high coverage. I don't know, though. I'd have to test them. And then on the shield, that'll be interesting. I might do a white background with a bronze edge and a yellow center with maybe a bronze middle. Don't be like put off by Oxide Yellow's mustardy color, by the way. One of the best bases you can make for a yellow is actually to mix these two. So let's just do that. The color that you get ends up being like Bones Mustard Yellow, which I always thought was the best base coat for yellow that we'd ever done. Because the oxide really does give good coverage, but when you mix the lantern with it, it takes away that mustard. This actually looks really bright yellow over white. So you don't be put off by the fact that it looks brownish in the bottle. It is quite a bright yellow when you add white or mix it or put it over white. Agent Marvel, Candlelight has good coverage. You're just starting a lot lighter, so you're going to have to shade a lot more. I highly recommend if you're gonna get into mixing at any point, if you're going to get into like mixing, like serious mixing, pick up Lantern, because Candlelight is a lot like Lantern plus added white, but it's got a little bit of, I think, of a tiny bit of red in it as well. It's not as pure of a color. It's perfectly acceptable as a primary in a lot of cases. If you are only using yellow, I actually said this in the PDF that I put out yesterday for my Patreon. If you are only using yellow to build highlights for other colors, like for greens and for oranges, then you could use candlelight. If you are painting yellow, use lantern. Yeah, I'm sure that doing a pink undercoat does well under yellow. It's just another step of underpainting for me. I'd rather just go and dive right in with my yellow. I don't fear yellow. I paint yellow fine, so I don't struggle with it. Like, I used to struggle with it until I learned this, and then I was like, oh, all right. So I always start now with, in this case we're doing a mix of these two, but with one of these two colors. Just start with a higher coverage, darker yellow. Now, if you are more of a beginning painter, then obviously you can ignore my advice on the whole mixing thing, because you just need a serviceable yellow, and candlelight is a serviceable yellow. It's just, remember that there is white in it, so when you mix it with other stuff, it is going to lighten it and maybe gray it out depending on the other things you're using. All right, so we're going to do this 50-50 mix of the oxide yellow and the lantern yellow. And I've got about a little bit more than 4 drops, yeah. Yeah, I just did a PDF on my traveling set finally, guys. So, like, if you are on my Patreon, it's a $2 one, so everybody gets it. And it's just like the 20 colors. Like, if I only had 20 colors, this is what I would grab. It's the set I tend to travel with, except I actually did it one better. I put 3 sets in there. One of them is for those of you who really like mixing in pure pigments. So, like, you would use lantern yellow over candlelight just because it gave you more options. The next one is for people who just want a serviceable color and, you know, don't really care as much about pure pigments and stuff. And in that case, you'd get the candlelight yellow, for example. In fact, I think that's where I say, if you are painting a lot of yellow itself, choose lantern. Otherwise, if you're building highlights by adding yellow in, then candlelight actually saves you a step. And then the third one is my own personal set that I prefer. It was very interesting laying those out because walnut and liners didn't actually make it into either of the first 2 sets because they're easy to mix. Except, well, liners aren't easy to mix, but walnut is pretty easy to mix or something like it, and the liners weren't absolutely necessary. And when you're only doing 20 colors, you have to get all those color slots filled in before you have room for extra stuff. Yeah, and if you're using it as a light source, and that's what David uses it for, Agent Marvel, and that means that he uses candlelight. All right, so we've got our dark yellow here. Let's put it on our hood and take a look. Oh, I can see another mold line I missed. It shouldn't look green at all, Twisted Oma. That could be your monitor. It looks pretty orangey to me on my in person and on my monitor too. So look out because, yeah, your monitor can definitely, different monitors are calibrated different and you can definitely get a shift. Because the oxide yellow is not green, it's brownish. And the lantern yellow is orange. So together I can assure you there is no green. I would check your monitor. If we wanted green, we would have used a green shade yellow with something like rich leather. The greenish yellow is a lot harder, and you can see that on Lizette back that we painted last year or the year before. I think it was last year. Sorry guys, have another pesky mold line to take off here. And the plastic is being annoying. Sometimes my scraping works just fine, and other times it definitely has issues. All right, and I put my file away. Foolish me. let's see, there we go. Just gonna rub my file a little bit over the surface here, take off any extra little niblets. All right, all right. Man, this model just like grew a whole mess of mold lines on stream. I swear they were spontaneously generated. All right, so we're gonna use the Reaper Zero for the base coat here. Let's see how this looks over gray. Now over gray, this could go green, and this is where we might want to put the white undercoat on, but we'll see. And it still isn't a like perfect coverage, as you can see. We've got a little bit showing through. I did thin it a little bit, so maybe what I do is I base coat the hood and then I go back in and add a little bit more paint. Since it's a 1-to-1 mix, it's really easy to add a little bit more paint to it. Have a lot of paint on here. I take some of it off. Yo, Rex. Ah. And if I see little bits of plastic, I'll try to take those off. All right. So yeah, so it's definitely giving us that green tone as it dries. So the difference, and let's just do an undercoat of white, and I'll show you that. I'm also going to thicken this. Let me see, where is my, actually I left my, hold on. I left my pure white on the table. I was taking photos yesterday and I totally left it out there. Good girl, Kiki. Where's Mama's paint? Where did she put it? I thought I had removed it. Maybe I'm wrong. That's a bummer. Kiki was all settled and I just woke her up. Well, you'll have to resettle, little dog. Yeah, I grabbed a bunch of paints to photo and I totally forgot them on the table, and of course one of them was my pure white. There. Now the Keeker will have to find another place to collapse. But yeah, so we'll put down the white undercoat. Let's try, we could try a pink undercoat too. Because the thing is, here's the deal, guys. If I don't need the white undercoat, then it makes, if I can just put my yellow down without a problem, then it doesn't make sense to do the pink undercoat for me. But if I'm already going to have to undercoat with white, then doing a pink undercoat makes more sense. Keeker's been pretty good during the streams. There we go. Pop all that over here. There. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Good luck, Rex. Take it easy. Alrighty. So you can see the gray definitely comes through the yellow there. We definitely would need 2 coats for coverage. So let us look at undercoating with white. Let's do let's do the belt. So I'm about 8 out of 30 chapters in on my proofreading edit for my book. And I want to publish it by the end of the month, I think. But after this, I need to write what they call a reader magnet. So I need to write a short story or a novella, depending on how long it goes, that I give away in return for a mailing list sign up. It's one of the ways, because as an author, it helps if you have a mailing list so that you can let people know when your book is out, because you never know when Amazon is going to turn completely evil, as opposed to, you know, just mostly evil. So it helps if you have your readers where you can actually let them know when stuff is going on. But that means I want to write a little thing to give to people as a thank you for signing up. So I've been brainstorming. Oh, you painted this as armor, the little belt? Yeah, Bryce, it's almost there. Like I am on schedule. My cover art should be done. Oh, I forgot that she's actually got it. Her hood is actually looks like a whole cowl, or she's got a cowl with her hood. So I could paint that a different color. Anyway, so let's put our yellow over the white. You'll see a big difference there. Yeah, that's my opinion too, Richard. Surgery kind of sucks, but it is good to address the problem. My mom just had spinal surgery. She had some bone spurs that were pressing on her spine, and she's 75. But she says that she can stand up absolutely straight for the first time in years, and it feels great. So think positive thoughts. The big thing about medical stuff, I speak from experience, go in thinking positive thoughts and come out thinking positive thoughts. Alrighty. I'm going to not thicken my yellow. I'm just going to put it over the white so we can have a direct... yeah, it's a young adult fantasy based on Norwegian folk tales, Bryce. One of my favorite. It's actually set in a world that is all based on, in this case, Norwegian folk tales. It's an alternate Earth where a world of magic sits alongside the real world. Hiding. So look at the difference there, guys. Look at that huge difference. So obviously yellow is pretty translucent. So what you have underneath it shows through, which is why. And let's do the pink thing. Let's just do that pink thing. I'll use Runic Glow probably instead of BCA pink, but you can see that you get a much truer, brighter yellow with the white underlay, right? I decided not to Turgeon because I was already in the middle of getting prepped for my book. So I decided not to do the Dungeon 23. I realized that it sometimes, okay, so let's talk about this actually. Let's talk about this. So be aware that some of us, for some of us, things like NaNoWriMo and Dungeon 23 and all that actually kind of set us up to fail. So if you are somebody who has to mull over ideas a lot and mull over them over and over in order to get a really good idea out of it, if you need time to think about ideas before you settle on something, then when you go into NaNoWriMo or Dungeon 23 or any of these kind of timed things, even miniatures, because you think a lot about your color scheme and how you want to execute maybe, or when you're going into a model, how you're going to do it. Don't let yourself, don't say, oh, well, I was just thinking about stuff today, so I don't get to log it as a day that I did stuff. Just because you didn't come up with a whole new dungeon room, just because you were kind of taking time to think about maybe the whole section of your dungeon, or about the general paint scheme, or about a new technique, just because you're thinking doesn't mean it doesn't count. If you are an intensive thinker, a lot of us nerds and geeks are, I think, then if your strength is in thinking and mulling things over, then give yourself the credit to do that. I can't always just spit out words. I can, but then it's going to take me so much longer to go over them. I work much better if I let myself think about the scene beforehand, and then I write the scene. So with Dungeon 23, it would be the same kind of thing. I realized that even before it started, I was kind of thinking about it. I was mulling it over because I want to write a new setting. So I'm like, I could use this to write my new setting. But then I realized that so much of my creation process is in mulling things over. It's in thinking, not in just spitting it out onto the page. So for me, I realized this year it wouldn't work. Maybe if I prepped more beforehand and did a lot of my thinking about like the nature of the world I want to create, I think maybe then I could do it. But I think a lot of groundwork, I would have to do a lot of groundwork because I love the idea of Dungeon 23. I definitely do want to use it to create a setting, but I think I have a lot of groundwork to do before I can just jump into that. Yeah, it is. All these kind of like things that make you do a thing every day, Richard. And I think what's important and what isn't said a lot is that some personality types really can't do this or don't benefit from doing it. So it all, again, comes back to there is no magic bullet for getting stuff done. You need to figure out how to work with your own brain. And if your brain likes that kind of thing, like if your brain gets momentum from doing a thing every day, then do it. I do get momentum from doing a thing every day, but I also need a lot of thinking time. So I kind of have to allow myself to give myself the gold star or to cross off the day, even if all I did was think rather than directly produce. Yeah, I mean, it counts either way, right, Crowley? Yeah, so you need time to focus then. Like it's deep work for you, right, Agent? Like it's where you have to have a significant block of time in order to produce your best work or in order to touch base with what you want to and what you want to get out of the writing, right? Yeah, everybody's so different, guys. Everybody is so different. Now, the fun thing can be if you are into like kind of the differences between yourself and everybody else and you kind of want to play around with that, the way to really do this is to look at that challenge and say, how would I do this challenge? Right? Like how would like for you, Agent, you would like maybe jot down little fun ideas like all month, and then when you had a block of time, you would just sit down and just go deep, right? So maybe that's the way you would end up doing it. But I think everybody can do this sort of challenge, but the way that we do it, even miniature painting, the way that we do it is different, right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Turgeon. Exactly. Yeah. And you needed that. You needed that, right? And that is a thing. And the most liberating thing that you can do if you are that kind of personality, where you think and think and think and think and think, and then boom, you spew it all out over 2 days. The most liberating thing that you can tell yourself is, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. It seems like you don't think there is anything wrong with you, so good for you. But a lot of us, like, as you say, you drove your friends crazy. They thought you were doing it wrong, but you weren't. You were doing it the way your brain wanted to. The worst thing we can do is to get down on ourselves for our process because we think it's wrong. If it is working for us, there is nothing wrong about it. And that goes for any creative process. Yes, exactly. Intentional thinking counts. Absolutely. You should mark the day off if you're doing that kind of daily challenge and then make a note. You know, like I spent 15 minutes thinking about the tavern I'm designing, right? Yeah, and there's a comedian. It's I think Seinfeld. Seinfeld also makes himself write every day, and there's definitely a lot of personality types that benefit from it. I find that I do need to touch base with my book at least once a day in order to keep momentum. But that touching base can honestly be just going in, rereading the page that I just wrote, and spending my evening walk thinking about it. As long as you say, it's intentional attention, right? Thinking about intentional thought or intentional writing, intentional activity. Yes. And that's kind of the NaNoWriMo thing too, Richard, is that, you know, you make yourself write every day, and it's a lot. It's like almost 1,700 words a day. It's a lot. And so you have to just bust butt and do it. And I find that it's good for me if I have enough sufficient mental, like, time to think about the story beforehand. But if I'm just trying to, like, write cold, it can really bite me. It can really bite me. It depends. It depends. and getting past that whole, and this is very true of miniature painting, getting past that whole idea that that bad work doesn't still equal a gold star. Bad, in quotes there. Less than ideal work. Like, it still does. The effort still counts. It absolutely counts. You have no choice, right? Like, if you put in the effort and something comes out that just really isn't that great and you can't use, like, there's no coming back from it. It's just what it is. And you just got to give yourself credit. Hey, I came and I did the work. Okay, I'm going to get some runic glow out. I wouldn't use, actually wouldn't use necessarily breast cancer pink. I guess the advantage of using breast cancer pink is that you get better coverage from it. But if I'm going to be mixing this runic glow with white anyway, then I'm going to get the coverage. But yeah, all of these are mental tricks. Every single one of these are mental tricks that people have made up. So the runic glow itself doesn't have great coverage, but I'm still going to put it down first, and then I'm going to come over the top. All of these are just ways to trick your brain into doing the work, to get past the fear and anxiety that creative work can bring when you feel like there's a lot writing on it. Like, oh my gosh, I really love this miniature. What if I paint it crappy? You know, what if it doesn't turn out? What if I'm not good enough to paint this miniature yet? You know, what do I, you know, it's to get you past that. It's the, no, just sit down and work on it a little bit every day. Yeah, like some people can put in like 8 hours of solid work with just short breaks, and other people cannot. I cannot do. My ideal time chunk is probably 45 minutes, and I can do 2 of those in a block, and then I'm really tapped out for a while after that. So learning, so I'm going to take some white in here, do some wet blends. Learning kind of like, as you say, when to stop. When do I have to stop? When do I lose my optimal functionality? Yeah, he was also trying to, like, you know, say, hey, you know, even if you only do a tiny bit, if you keep it, if it's good work. But you know what? I would argue the opposite is true too. If you do a bunch and it's all crap and you end up not keeping any of it, at least you know what it's not. What's not the right words. And sometimes you go back to it. Sometimes you think it's not right and then you go back to it. Okay, I'm moving too fast. I gotta stop. I've never resold a mini because I thought I might ruin it. I've resold a mini because I just honestly lost interest in it. All right, I've got, things are a little wet right here, so I'm going to wait. But I'll do a little bit more of a highlight up here. Yeah, some people can't outline. Yeah, because that didn't work with your process, right? And that's a teacher that doesn't have. There are lots of people in the world who don't really like get that everybody really is different. That they're not just saying that it's not their style. Like some people, if you tell somebody, no, I just really can't do it that way, they'll be like, oh no, if you tried, you could do it, and that's not true. But not everybody realizes that. So if that teacher has that process and it's worked great for her or him, they're going to make you do it because they really believe that everybody should be able to do this. It's easy for me. And that's the biggest blind spot you can get into about your process. And this is true, again, across creative disciplines, but it's something you should always ask yourself if you do become a decent painter and you do decide to teach. Remember, your process will never work for everyone. And presenting it as kind of the magic process that will is not really the way to do it. It'll probably hurt more than it helps. Outlines do help me, but they have to be limited outlines. Like I still have a lot of wiggle room in my stories. Thinning down my runic glow just a little bit. Even though the runic glow doesn't have as high coverage as the breast cancer awareness pink, because it's a darker pink, that's why I'm working with it. So, and now I have more room here, so I'm going to bring it down. But yeah, I'm one of those people who really, really grokks, like, it's one of my, like, strengths to understand that everyone is really different. And to try to figure out ways to help you capitalize on that is kind of my mission. Like, the fact that you're different and can't use X system should never be a detriment. It's just we just need to find the system that does work for you. Because it'll be there. I'm going to do a little bit of a cross brush stroke here. Like, somewhere out there is a system that will work for you, even if it's not a system. Some people thrive on chaos. All right, so I've got all this right here, and that looks nice. So let us come in and put the yellow over the top once this is dry. I am going to highlight just a little bit down here on the side, though. So the more you bring the pink up to white, the less orangey your result will be. Uh-oh. I hear a Kiki getting into things. But it could just be her big crinkly snake that she's playing with. All right, so there's that. Maybe the answer is that you need to be spontaneous then, Dogfather. Maybe the answer is to just like keep your paint tray sitting around, and when the mood takes you, just paint. Maybe that's just the answer for you. Like, some people value like spontaneity and difference, and but it could also be that you just like have a hard time finding time for stuff that's a creative pursuit. That's another thing. Never like, always consider like both possibilities. Sometimes, you know, you might have problems just because you haven't found your process yet. But sometimes, you know, it really is a whole, like, prioritization issue as well. And sometimes it's fear. Like, the biggest thing that will stop you, and I did a PDF on this a while ago, but the biggest thing that will stop you from painting is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of not having it turn out the way you want it. Fear of, you know, it just being a bunch of bad crap and you feeling bad about it. Well, we're not keeping the pink, though, guys. Remember. In fact, we're about to destroy the pink. I'm just making sure my yellow is queued up here. So I'm actually going to just thin it a tiny bit more and put it over the top. What have you got, Kiki? I need to go and check on the dog in a moment. All right, here we go. So we did all that underpainting, and then we threw the yellow over the top. And even though I thinned it, we get excellent coverage. And we also have a little bit of shading and highlighting inherent. Hi, what were you messing around with, little doglet? Hi. Hi, tiny doglet. You're so tiny. How should anybody say that you're ginormous? Just because your head is almost as big as mine. Yeah. Don't listen to them, Kiki. You're a tiny little doglet. Petite. Yep, you could do that too, Vandalar. I just thinned my yellow down a little bit so it was a little more transparent. But I was more trying to show people you get really good one coat coverage, and it sets you up with some shadows. So the difference between the really bright, and you can already see that this yellow is not going to be nearly as bright, right? It's going over that pink, and I didn't take it up to pure white. So if you want a very bright yellow on your figure, white undercoat is probably where you go. And if you have, if you want more of a naturalistic yellow, like not as eye-screaming bright, then the pink undercoat works okay. So you can see the green, the way that, and this is the interaction with the gray, which of course has black in it, and the yellow. Black and yellow always make green, so it's going to shift that way. But yeah, keep in mind that like Valandar says, this, you know, he would normally use a transparent ink over this instead of a color with any opacity. No, yeah, you can't do it when you have no energy for it, Dogfather. The only answer is to do it on the days when you have energy. And if you, especially, I find that if it's a day where if I don't get good sleep, I'm never going to have the energy at the end of my day. So, all right, let's take some candlelight and highlight up that pink underpainting. Yeah, you do it when you have the spoons. Like, if you're not motivated to paint, there's nothing wrong with you. It just means you're not motivated to paint. And the more you feel guilty about it, or feel like it's something wrong, the less energy you're going to have. That's key, by the way. Mindset is key. If you stop, like, you know, being kind of down on yourself about it and just kind of like go to it when you have time on the weekend. But I mean, it's priorities at that point, right? You finally have energy. It's the weekend, and you have to choose what you're going to do. And sometimes painting isn't going to be it. In fact, if you haven't painted for a while, painting may not be it for a long time. So and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you feel bad about it, like if you really want to paint, you really want to make time for it, then yeah, sit down and make time for it. Like, and be ready to tell your loved ones, guys, I'd really just like to sit here and paint for half an hour, right? Just so you don't get guilt, because there will be sometimes guilt from people around you. I know this. But if, you know, if there are a lot of things that you would enjoy doing and you'd rather go to a movie, go to a movie. We are not the thought police. We are not going to show up at your door yelling at you for not painting. We are not going to, you know, the most people are going to be on the Reaper, you know, community is helpful. And if it's not helpful because you just are not making time to paint, just don't. Hey, Zechariah. You shouldn't feel guilty about it. It's like, I mean, okay, the only way, one, feeling guilty doesn't do anything for you at all. If it's not a motivator, all it's doing is poisoning your hobby. If you really feel guilty about it because you really do want to paint and you just, you know, it's so hard for you to find the motivation, maybe take a nice relaxing morning, like if you have a nice relaxing Saturday morning or you have a nice relaxing Sunday morning when you don't have to work, maybe take, oh, I had a rub off. Maybe take a bit of that time and just sit down and do a little hobbying. Maybe not even painting. Maybe you just like sit down and clean up some old lines. But like, don't feel like you have to paint just because other people tell you you've got to paint. Yeah, because if you keep the guilt, it is for some people, Richard, but it's not for me. Like, community is the absolute no motivator for me. It actually does not at all motivate me. There was a very rare project where it did once, but that's the only time in memory that community has motivated me. Most of the time, community just feels like pressure to me, and so I avoid it. I am a lone operator for a lot of what I do. Yep, Rhonda's New Year's resolution. Yep. Or lack of resolution, as the case may be. But yeah, if you can get the guilt out of it and just let yourself just do it when you do it and not worry about it. We should never feel guilty about not doing our hobbies. It just means that we just don't have the time or we're prioritizing something else. And that's a choice we've made. There's no reason to beat ourselves up for it. Well, Pendrake, you're just going to have to slap them onto your cat. Or if you don't have a cat, maybe they should go on outdoor feral cats so that somebody starts seeing cats parading by their home with thought police stickers on them, which would be hilarious. Yeah, some people do need that external peer pressure. Like, that is, in fact, I would almost say a majority of people, judging from studies that have been done on it, right, Kodiak? So I'm using candlelight to bring up a highlight on this, guys. Just so there we go. So see that? I'm turning it upside down so I have a good angle. But the yellow, I mean, it is a very pretty yellow. Yeah, you judging everyone not painting while also not painting yourself. But, yeah, the more you see people do, the more, and that's a comparisonitis. That is a disease. It's called comparisonitis, and all creatives get it. And just don't. If that's true, Dogfather, then you have to stop looking at other people's stuff. Because comparisonitis plus guilt is absolutely probably blocking you from painting. Like, I would say, like, yeah. I would say that if you kept off the social media and, like, didn't look at other people's stuff and all the progress they're making, and you just spent time yourself with your hobby, just, looking at your minis, kind of playing with them, thinking about colors, and took the guilt out of it, just thought, wow, this is a beautiful mini and I'm really enjoying looking at it right now. Maybe it would be green, Take down the pressure. Take down the pressure. Kodiak, this is Candlelight. I'm putting highlights of Candlelight Yellow over the pink undercoat. We did the pink and white trick for the underpainting on the loincloth here. So this is just the yellow that my main yellow. I mixed yellow oxide and lantern yellow to create kind of this mustard yellow, which is a pretty good coverage yellow, all things considered. I put it just straight over the bones for this part. I put it over white for the belt. And for this one, we did a pink and white underpaint, which is what a lot of people do for yellow. And now I'm highlighting it with a bit of Candlelight so you guys can see how it comes up. It's a really interesting kind of shifty yellow, kind of color shifty yellow. It's very dynamic. Yeah, at least try to do new stuff before deciding it's not for you. Yes. Yeah, well, and, maybe afterwards, one thing that happens for me, Karniko, is if I try that kind of thing and it really doesn't turn out, I'll kind of, again, this is the thinking part of me, right? I'll kind of ruminate on it and I'll be like, oh, maybe if I tried it this way, and I'll try it again and, I'll get a better result. Yeah, the pink undertone is interesting, right? So this is just something, this is like a way to paint yellow that gives you just this specific kind of effect. And then, yeah, you definitely still want to highlight it more with more yellow. And if you want to lose more of the pinky orange undertone, you can do a glaze of yellow over the top with either a transparent ink or your normal paint, doesn't matter. It'll give you slightly different effects. So the pink is kind of fun. Maybe we'll do it that way. Maybe we'll do this model that way. It gives that kind of sunrise feeling to it. So we're losing more of the pink now as I'm bringing in more of the yellow. There's still a little bit of pink in the cracks here, so you're still getting that suggestion of it. Yeah, and brilliant ideas are few and far between. Brilliant ideas are also overrated. Yeah, and that probably means that you've got a high, one of your strengths is focusing, which is great. It's actually quite good for mini painting, but it does mean that usually you need to block out a bigger time block. But yeah, the biggest thing that I would do if you're feeling guilt, and you feel guilt largely when you see other people's work, is I would get off the social media. I would do very targeted tactical. If you use social media to talk to your friends, then I would try to talk to them using a different medium, or make very targeted tactical strikes to just check in on your friends. And I would try to just enjoy your models without feeling guilty about it. Just enjoy them for themselves. I have developed, I've got focus as a strength, but I have developed a point where I'll just start myself thinking about it before I actually sit down. and I can short circuit the process that way. So I'll think about it, and then by the time I sit down, I already had that like 15 minutes of thinking about it to get me in the mood. Yeah, I used Runic Glow. You could use any pink. Let's put a little bit of a liner around this. But yeah, I find that I am able to, if I do the pre-thinking, if like say I'm washing up after dinner, right? While I'm washing up after dinner, I can absolutely start thinking about my paint job and start thinking about the model. And if I let myself have that rumination time, then I can shift into gear a lot faster. So if you have that kind of mindset where it's hard for you to just use half an hour, think about maybe pre-prepping your brain for a little bit beforehand and getting excited about it. Then when you sit down, even if you only have half an hour, you might have 15 minutes where it's rockier, but then at least you'll get 15 minutes of like good flow. I used to do this also like on my car ride home back when I had a commute. I would think about the thing that I was going to be working on, and it would help me get past that rocky induction period where I had, couldn't just sit down for half an hour. Yeah. Oh, social media is really toxic for like writers a lot. As I've given up. It's toxic in general. I hate to say this, guys, but gosh, like my Discord is like the only place I go anymore. Like I go to a couple of other Discords where the community is really supportive. But otherwise I just don't like. Social media is very bad for me. Hey, Dicey Guy. Sup? We were playing with the awesome like pink undercoat for yellow idea today. We decided that this was going to be a Cleric of Sarenrae, so I was showing different effects of painting yellow over the base bones material and then over white, and then we did a pink undercoat with some highlights and shading, and we painted the yellow over that, and then I did a highlight. Yeah, the big problem though is that when you do find a comfy Discord group, then it becomes a time sink. So you got to be careful. Yeah. Yeah, I've quit so much social media. I don't go to Instagram. I don't go to my Twitter. The only interaction with Twitter I get is on my feed that gets emailed to me, and if like the only stuff I look at is Overwatch stuff, and then I might go and look at it, but I might not. YouTube I still interact with because I can go and watch an appropriate a video that's on the topic that I'm trying to think about. Yep, yeah, Serignon. I am that too. Once I get in the zone, I'll just keep going. There were times I would forget to eat when I was younger. And I started once I realized that my most productive time period was like 45 minutes, and then I would start getting really tired if I pushed it. I did start setting an alarm for 45 minutes. Then I would take like a 10-minute break to get some tea. And then I would get refreshed and I would go back in. That doesn't matter though, Dogfather. Like you young man, you listen to me. all of that, like, oh, this doesn't help. No. It's a good thing to be a slow and deliberate painter. When you are slow and deliberate, it means that you can put less time in and learn faster. Because if you are slow and deliberate, you are paying attention when you paint. Like, this is how I got good. It's not a detriment. Not a detriment, young man. You hear me? Anything you think is a detriment can turn into a superpower. I'll go that far. Always, like, really question, guys. Really question. Like, okay, I am a slow and deliberate painter. It's a bad thing. Question the premise. Is it? Is it really bad that you're slow and deliberate? No, just means you can't speed paint. Who cares? Yeah, I don't know, it's just depressing to me a lot. There's a lot of drama on, Facebook and crap and Twitter and, Yes, and I know you are, but still. Still. Because you know what? When we do that, when we are like, when we think of a way that we are and then we assign a negative to it, that just doesn't help, right? It just doesn't help us actually sit down and paint. So think about if there is a part of your process that you don't enjoy. Say that I wish I wasn't slow and deliberate. Okay, well, I can wish forever that I am not like somebody else, but it won't help me at all. Whereas if I embrace my slow deliberateness, as I have, I am not a fast painter. I, like you, am slow and deliberate. And I leveraged that by really using my focus to like really micro focus and learn a lot more about, like, it can help you when you're learning about things like paint consistency. Because if you really want to get an instinctive grasp of paint consistency and how the paint acts with certain amounts of thinning, being slow and deliberate is a plus for you because you can really pay attention, and that's worth so much. Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, that's because there's part of your personality that places a high value on your work being good, Kodiak, right? And that's good because it drives you to create good work, So everything that's a negative to somebody is a positive to somebody else. That's true, Vic. Yes. Yeah, and detail oriented. Right, yeah. It's the same thing. No, I don't think it's better. Okay, so let's get into that. There is no righteousness about any of this. Just because that person says, "Oh, slow and deliberate," well, that's not me. That doesn't mean that their fast and sloppy is bad. That's the way they do. That's the way they roll. It's not better, it's not worse, it just is. That's it. We always, man, humans have comparativitis so bad. And it's like I said, just because the guy who's super fast and might be sloppy, but he gets a whole army painted in 2 days. What I wouldn't give to do that. I don't care if it's sloppy. If it's sloppy, if you really want to tighten it up, you can. But some people don't care. They just want to paint it and on the table, and that's okay. Like, it's cool. Well, it is. It is dicey. That's a problem, but people forget it all the time, which is why I have to say it over and over and over. The bottom line is, if you have a process and you're enjoying it, and it works for you, awesome, you're ahead of the game. Now just, figure out how to refine it to make it even cooler. Unless that isn't you. Some people don't. Like, I feel the need to refine things and make them cooler, but not everybody does. It really is. And we have, as humans, also a hard time letting people have their own way. Like, we always want to kind of stick our nose in and go, well, couldn't you make that a little bit neater? If you just spend a little time doing X, maybe that's not for that person. Right, yeah. Zechariah has it exactly. And that was what I encountered at Paint Club. It took me a very long time to understand that just because somebody didn't want to get better, that wasn't a reflection on my teaching. Like, that was that person. They wanted to paint to just enjoy painting and get the model done so they could put it on a gaming table. It was rewarding to them to just paint the model simply. Whereas other people, it is rewarding for them to paint the model really well. And some people get rewarded for not painting the model at all and just building the kit. And they're happy. That's Ron Hawkins. And it's okay. We shouldn't guilt them into having to paint. Yeah, you have to figure out kind of what makes you, your end goal or what makes you fulfilled, right, Katerina? Because it's not always about completion. Sometimes it's just about the process. Sometimes the process of getting, maybe you're the person who just the process of learning is the reward. You don't really care about the end product, right? So figuring out like your motivation. I think that's probably because your job stresses you out, dog father, and your hobby you don't want to be stressed out. So I just put another coat of yellow on that, by the way. So, all right, let's, can we do this in reverse? Let's mix a little bit of our pink with a little bit of our yellow. So if we want to put these orange shadows, this pinkish orange shadow onto our belt, we can. Yeah, our hobbies are different than our work. Yeah, that's fair too. If you know, we work at our jobs for years and years and years, and we don't get nearly as much time to put into our hobbies. So if I mix the runic glow and the yellow, I get a stronger orange than I got when undercoating. And part of that is the gray backing that, by the way. So when I take white and I put the pink plus yellow over the top, it's actually a much brighter orange than this is. So you get different effects. Right, exactly, Katerina. Yeah, we get very wrapped up in, or in whatever like community we're in. Like in a community of army painters, nobody cares if it's the best. They care that it's fast and cool and on the table. They might really admire somebody who could paint good fast, like Derek Schubert, where it is very neat and fast. Still doesn't take a lot of time to do. Um, you know, but the priorities are different. And I think a lot of us, we enter into a hobby and there's a way to do it that we're presented with, maybe a couple of ways to do it. But we don't stop and ask ourselves, well, what would make me most fulfilled? Because a lot of times we're entering in it with student mindset, right? And student mindset is like, oh, well, all these other people are in this hobby and they've done it for a ton of time, and so I should listen to them, right? I should listen to what they say, the right way to do it. Because otherwise, I don't know anything. Who am I, right? It's like me with my knitting. It's like, I know nothing. You know, who am I to decide what is going to make this fulfilling for me? But that's not actually true. Like, I'm slowly starting the journey now because one of the things, like, they keep telling me as a writer, they're like, you know, as somebody who wants to write and publish books, the greater they, are like, you have to set, just like you said, Kat, is that you have to figure out what your goal is, right? But that's so hard. So many humans, we just like we look at the goals, the possible goals that they give us, you know, and then we're like, we'll pick one that feels right? But it might not actually be the right one. So lately I've been trying to doing some soul searching on what do I really want, right? Like, what would make me feel really fulfilled about my writing? What about my painting? Like, my painting, I'm pretty sure I know because I've had so much, but you know what? It's taken me 30 years to do it. My painting, I know that I'm happiest and most rewarded when I take my absolute time and I go extremely slow and methodical and meticulous and I pay attention to every aspect of the mini. Like, and I enjoy every aspect of the mini. Like that, but that is why, guys, I don't army paint. It would take me a decade to finish 2 units. There has to be a time when I unwire. If I'm going to game, then I have to take off my like ideal hat and just go, okay, I got to get it done, right? But, I don't know what my writing goal is. My writing goal is to get my books out there and be happy about it and, maybe have some fans. Like, but is there more? I don't know. I haven't asked myself these questions. So it's the same with painting. It's like, some of us do want recognition, but we feel kind of guilty about that, right? Or stuff like that. And so, yeah, some of us are going to be fulfilled just with the process because it lets us get out of our own heads and just relax. Like, that's a big one. I see a lot of people with that. Some people really love the completion aspect, especially if you're the type of brain who really likes to finish a task and then move on to the next and you get a boost from finishing something. A lot of modern workplaces can really play havoc with that because, you're always getting moved to a different project. Just when you're really focused in on a project, they're like, oh, we need you to switch gears and work on this instead. So if we aren't getting that kind of fulfillment from our normal job, painting can become that for us because it's our opportunity to just sit and finish things. But yeah, so pay attention to what aspect of the hobby you really feel happy when you're doing, I guess. Yeah, yeah, Belle. Bella Grizio, yeah. I mean, and it is what it is, right? I've just come to the conclusion that I'm not gonna get an army painted. Okay, so up here, guys, I remember I put the white undercoat down, I put the yellow over the top, and now I've come back in. You see I've added some of that pink, right? But notice how much brighter this still looks. I'm shading it with the same colors. I've got the orangey pink there, and I've got the orangey pink over here, but it looks much brighter. And this is the undercoat. That's how, when you're working with translucent colors, that's how much of an impact that undercoat has. Is it really 10 after 11? I've been holding forth on personal development again, haven't I? Quindy, why don't you stop me when I go into these things? Oh yeah, you burned out, Kerniko. Yep. All your energy pennies got sucked out of you. I know, man. And the Skaven are so cute. Like, I really like them, but man, a horde army is just not going to do it for me. I know. Just call me the personal development paint coach, guys. Oh, lordy sakes. I'm going to eat my brush. I was almost going to eat it, and then I was almost going to drop it. All right, I'm going to line around that belt, too. I lined around the loincloth here. Well, except I missed a spot. Yeah, exactly. Hey, everybody vote in that poll. Or no, it's pinned. Pinned by, I thought it was a poll. Is Quindy right or is Quindy not right? That's really funny. Yes, there's a good use for your channel points, right? Oh, funny. So I'm trying to do a little bit of lighting here. But yeah. Just remember that your way is, like, any way is not a righteous way. It's just your way, or it's not your way. Or maybe parts of it are your way, but yeah, whenever you assign anxiety or guilt or any kind of negative emotion to something, even something you love, it can get poisoned for you. And I hate it when that happens, so I try to speak out. I really want to be a force for good in the painting world. I'm starting to realize that is making a positive impact on people is actually one of the things that gives me the most satisfaction. So that's why I talk about this stuff, guys. I try not to be too much of a hokey painting self-help show, but you know, I feel passionately about it. Oh yeah. It can be a patience lesson for sure, JC. Yes, good. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. Yes. Yeah, I'll wrap it up. I'm gonna just line around this belt. Hopefully you guys can see the difference though between the white undercoat and the how much darker this looks. I'd have to really bring it up with some white and yellow, and I'd still end up with a darker look. Because the white undercoat is just so poppy. If you want a bright color that really pops, you do the white. For a long time, I didn't want to do an undercoat other than white. I guess the last thing to say is really that although your core motivation, like the thing that really gives you satisfaction out of life, tends to shift slowly, if at all. But you definitely could get, like, you could enjoy different parts of the process as you move through your hobby. So, pardon me, I'm just going to darken down that area behind there. So that part can change, right? Like, you could definitely go from somebody who adores doing competition work to somebody who adores, like, painting clean, good-looking armies for the tabletop. Like, you could totally do that during the course of your life. You could have that shift. Or you could have the other shift. I like doing, maybe you liked doing tabletop armies for the longest time, but then you got into you know, like improving your painting and now you're all in, right? It can happen. And we change. People change. So we'll have to like come back in and do a little bit more. So if I do a little bit of a highlight up here with my candlelit yellow, I can bring up the yellow up on the hat here. But you can see you definitely have a very different feel for the undercoating in pink. It works for sure. It's definitely like a dawn. It feels like a dawn thing to me. It's something I would use on like a dawn angel or a unicorn or a Pegasus or a Chiron. Yeah, and if that made you happy, Bello, then fantastic, right? Yeah. You know, Dogfather, the thing is, it's not your fault. And it is really easy for us to get hit with negativity, right, about the way we do things. And it's hard to buck that sometimes. So that's why I just like to remind you, like, always try to remember that, like, a thing that you think is a detriment could be a superpower if you look at it in a different way. Right, yeah, yep. Well, you just like maybe completing armies. Maybe, Richard, you just really like, I mean, I really like the way a painted army looks on the tabletop. It's super cool. It's really rewarding to finish a whole unit of dudes and have them look like decent. Like, I totally get it. I mean, that's the reason I picked up that box set for the Sisters of Battle Army. Like, I keep kind of thinking, you know. Yeah, this is a total Kirin color. Like, because they're supposed to be dawn colors, right? They're supposed to be gold, pink, violet. And so you do this, Kerniko, and then you use violet for the like a rich purple for the shadows. Like maybe I would maybe mix in a little bit of Monarch. Or you could use Runic. So you could absolutely, that's what I think of it. I can see this as a Kirin color scheme. That's what it seems like to me. Because I remember I always loved the way their colors were described in the first monster manual. And I was just like, yeah. Yeah, with armies, if I'm going to paint for that, I do find it's necessary for me to just cut it down to like one model or two models at a time. If I'm doing a unit, I can have like 2 guys in front of me. If I try to do 3 to 5, like most people do, I feel overwhelmed. So, again, it's just like, but that means if I only have 2 guys in front of me, I'm probably going to spend a little more time on them. So maybe slower, but they're going to be better. Yeah, again, one person's detriment is the other person's like superpower. It's a sign. Yeah, just mix a little bit of it into the Runic to get your purples. You don't want to go too dark. All right, guys, I'm going to call it that way. Hopefully this lesson on yellow has been very interesting to you. We'll have to decide the way that we're going to run with it. But yeah, like, so you can see like that how you would get different effects, base coating with different colors. Even though we use the same yellow, we use the same dang yellow on all of this, but because of the background color we used, they look completely different. So it's another lesson in how that has an impact. Yeah. All right. Yes. Yay, philosophy. I love philosophy. Life encouragement. I'm all about it. I'm all about it, Bryce. Let's make an impact. Let's make a positive impact on the world. That's what gives me happies. Large happies. All right, guys. I am going to leave. Kiki's like, geez, Mom, you went so late. Where's my walk? And it's actually, I think, not raining hard right now, so I should go and give Kiki the walk. And tomorrow, assuming we have power, everybody, tomorrow we are back to Sophie Wings and Sophie in general. So we're working on the fun stuff here. These guys. So, and we're making quite a good progress. So actually with the wings, maybe I can finish the winglets tomorrow. I'm gonna try. VIP, thank you. I like to see, I'm like the most positive streamer on Twitch, but yeah, if you want to call me good looking, I'm all for it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tolerating my endless optimism, and Positivity is the best of the ivities. Yes. All right. Have a good one. And I will hopefully, weather permitting, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.